Welcome to the video lecture on programming in C. In this video lecture, we will discuss the role of delimiters in C programs. Let us understand the meaning and purpose of delimiters. Delimiters are the collection of characters that are used to separate and differentiate words, statements, characters, and functions in a program. Delimiters convey the beginning and end of a statement in a program. Let us first look at the usage of delimiters that we use while writing in English. We use space to separate words in a sentence. Comma is used to separate multiple words in a list of words. We put full stop at the end of a sentence. This is a sample paragraph in which we can see the usage of delimiters. Without delimiters, we can't read and interpret the meaning of the text properly. So delimiters are essential while writing in English. Similarly, in programs also, delimiters are needed to help the compiler interpret the programs properly. First, let us discuss the delimiter that is used in separating variables. When many variables are typed together in a statement, we need to separate them by inserting comma between the variables. In this declaration, there are three variables declared in a single statement. First, the data type and the variables are separated by a space. Then the variables are separated by a comma between each pair of variables. In the scanf function also, we have to add a comma between the variables. If we fail to provide the comma, then compiler will not be able to know that they are different variables and will wrongly assume that they are part of a single variable. The next delimiter is to separate the statements in a program. In a typical C program, we usually have hundreds of statements under the types of declarative statements, arithmetic statements, conditional statements, looping statements, and function calling statements. But in C, we don't need to follow any rule as only one statement to be typed in a single line. C allows multiple statements to be typed in a single line. The given function definition is perfectly valid in C provided we use proper delimiters to separate the statements. But since we have not used the delimiters in this example, this will result in an error. In order to separate the different statements, we must put a semicolon at the end of each statement. Now the function definition is corrected by inserting semicolon at the end of the statements, so the compiler has no problem in compiling the code. Now let us see what delimiter is used to separate functions in a program. As we have seen, we can define any number of functions in a program to make it better readable and easier to debug. We define the functions one by one. Since each function starts with the opening brace and ends with the closing brace, compiler is able to differentiate the functions using their braces. So there is no need of a separate delimiter to differentiate the functions. In this example, main function ends with the closing brace and the next function commences with the opening brace. So compiler knows that there are two different function definitions. Usage of delimiters is a challenging task for the beginners and they make a lot of mistakes while developing programs. I highlight some of the common mistakes. In this declaration, semicolon is used instead of comma to separate the variables. This is the correct declaration. We should use comma to separate the variables and semicolon is needed only at the end of the declaration statement. C. Compiler does not allow the inclusion of space in a variable name. Variable names must be single words without any space. If needed, underscore may be used to separate the two words in a variable name. Underscore is the only symbol allowed in a variable name. Since functions are separated with the help of the braces, a semicolon is not allowed in a function definition. A semicolon is only needed at the end of a function name in a function call, not in function definition. Here also, a semicolon is not accepted at the end of a function definition.